All right, coaches, let's talk about something we've all seen. You've got this incredible athlete, talented, hardworking, looks amazing in practice, but the second the pressure is on, it's like they just unravel. It's confusing, right? And it's definitely frustrating. Well, in this explainer, we're going to get into the why behind it and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it in the moment.
Man, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's that gut feeling. You see a player's shoulders creep up just a little bit, or their timing is off by a millisecond. You can just feel the shift. This is all about turning that instinct you have into a clear, usable tool.
Okay, this is the most important idea we're going to talk about. We have to completely reframe what we're seeing. These predictable behaviors, the spiraling out of control, the total shutdown, these aren't character flaws. They are not a lack of mental toughness. They are protection strategies. These are deeply wired survival-based patterns that kick in when an athlete's nervous system is just flat out overwhelmed. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk a bit more about why these patterns even exist. Then we're going to break down two really common pairings you see all the time: the spiraler versus the disconnector, and the pleaser versus the overcontroller. And then we'll wrap up by giving you your next coaching play for each one.
So where do these things even come from? Well, it's a mix of biology, their past experiences, and just the brain's #1 job, to protect us from threat. Some athletes are just naturally wired to run hot and fast, while others are wired to run quiet and inward. These aren't choices they're making. It's literally the factory settings they bring to your team. So when the pressure hits, their brain just defaults to whatever strategy felt safest in the past, even if it's not working for them right now.
All right, let's jump into our first pairing. And a great way to think about this is the hot versus cold response to being overwhelmed. On one side, you've got the athlete who just accelerates into the chaos. And on the other, you've got the athlete who completely retreats into silence. Two totally opposite reactions, but they're sparked by the exact same trigger, a nervous system that feels threatened.
And you can see these two extremes right here. Over on the left, that's the spiraler. They're caught in this emotional cyclone where one mistake just instantly becomes 10. Their system is running hot. And then, way over on the right, you have the disconnector. They just retreat inward. A total emotional shutdown. That's the cold response.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the internal logic, the why. The spiraler isn't just being dramatic for the sake of it. Their system is so overwhelmed, it literally cannot slow down on its own. And the disconnector? They're not being defiant or showing you they don't care. That shutdown is pure self-preservation. Their system is slamming on the brakes to brace against that flood of pressure.
So how do you coach a spiraler? Well, you don't reassure them. That can actually make it worse. It just adds fuel to the fire. You have to interrupt the momentum. The play is a firm stop, a clean, grounded signal, like a gentle tap on the wrist or a slow palm-down gesture. This isn't a punishment, it's an invitation. It says, hey, come back to now. It gives their nervous system the pause it is desperate for.
Now for the disconnector, the play is completely different. It's connection over correction. Their brain simply cannot take in technical feedback when it feels threatened. So your first job is to signal safety. Gentle eye contact, a steady nod, something that says, I'm right here with you. You have to reestablish that human connection first. Only after their system feels anchored and seen can your coaching actually get through.
Okay, so that was our hot versus cold response. Now let's look at our next pairing, which is all about how athletes look for safety. Some find it through relationships, making sure everyone around them is happy. Others find it in structure and control, making sure absolutely nothing can go wrong. Two really different paths, but they're headed to the same goal, just feeling secure.
And here they are, side by side. You've got the pleaser. Their first instinct after a mistake is to whip their head around and look right at the coach, just searching for any sign of disappointment. Their focus is totally external. And then you have the overcontroller. They get tight, physically and mentally. They hate chaos, so they try to control every little detail. Their focus is completely internal.
The internal logic here is so revealing. The pleaser's nervous system has basically learned that harmony equals safety. So disappointing you doesn't just feel bad, it feels like a direct threat to their connection, to their security on the team. The overcontroller, on the other hand, has internalized that competence equals safety. They aren't trying to be a control freak, they're desperately trying to hold chaos still, because uncertainty feels like their kryptonite. So for the pleaser, the play is not to rescue them with a ton of reassurance. That just feeds the pattern. What you need is connection with boundaries, a steady, matter-of-fact tone. The magic phrase is something like, you're good, now here's what's next. It gives them that little hit of relational security they need, but then it immediately redirects their focus right back where it belongs, on the game.
And for the overcontroller, your gut instinct might be to tell them to try harder, but that just piles on more pressure. They actually need the exact opposite. They need permission to soften. Radical acceptance helps them loosen that death grip on perfection. Simple cues, like taking a slow exhale with them, or just saying the word loosen, can release that physical tension that's killing their timing. They don't need more intensity. They need permission to stop bracing against everything.
Okay, so we've just covered 4 really distinct patterns and the specific ways to intervene with each one. The key takeaway here is pretty simple. A one-size-fits-all approach to mental toughness just does not work. The right play has to match the athlete's specific protection strategy. So let's put it all together in a quick coaching cheat sheet. The spiraler, they need a firm stop to break that momentum. The disconnector, they need connection over correction to feel safe again. The pleaser, they need that steady connection with boundaries, not a rescue mission. And the overcontroller, they need radical acceptance and permission to just soften. Notice how none of these are about trying harder. They're about tuning in to what that athlete's nervous system really needs in that moment.
Now, if you want to dive deeper into this and get some really practical tools you can start using tomorrow, there are some fantastic free downloads and resources available right now over at flowmpc.com. And for those of you who want a physical copy to keep in your coaching bag, the Flow MPSS workbooks and a super handy pocket manual are also available for purchase on Amazon. I'm telling you, they're incredible resources for making this a real, practical part of your coaching.
So we'll end with this. When you start seeing these behaviors as patterns instead of flaws, it changes everything. It turns your frustration into a clear map for what to do next. So the next time you see one of your athletes start to slip, remember this. Now that you can read the pattern, what's going to be your next play?